Yeah, good evening, everyone. It is the 19th of February. Welcome to our Huddle Up, and I appreciate you coming. Go ahead and get the screen share. For those that are watching it recorded, I hope you enjoy. Okay. So tonight, we are going to start off with a TED Talk. And it is, what reality are you creating for yourself? Mm-hmm.
When Dorothy was a little girl, she was fascinated by her goldfish. Her father explained to her that fish swim by quickly wagging their tails to propel themselves through the water. Without hesitation, little Dorothy responded, "Yes, Daddy, and fish swim backwards by wagging their heads." In her mind, it was a fact as true as any other. Fish swim backwards by wagging their heads. She believed it. Our lives are full of fish swimming backwards. We make assumptions and faulty leaps of logic. We harbor bias. We know that we are right and they are wrong. We fear the worst. We strive for unattainable perfection. We tell ourselves what we can and cannot do. In our minds, fish swim by in reverse, frantically wagging their heads, and we don't even notice them. I'm going to tell you 5 facts about myself. One fact is not true. 1, I graduated from Harvard at 19 with an honors degree in mathematics. 2, I currently run a construction company in Orlando. 3, I starred on a television sitcom. 4, I lost my sight to a rare genetic eye disease. 5, I served as a law clerk to 2 U.S. Supreme Court justices. Which fact's not true?
All right, so I am going to review those and see where you guys fall on this. And we will come back to that. Oh,
Yeah.
that's the facts he just said, and one of them is not true. So Tony, we'll start with you, and you tell me which fact is not true.
He started on a television sitcom.
Okay, Marsha, Pickering,
That's what I thought. That he.
Dorothy,
The same thing.
Lisa.
I'm going to go with number 2.
Okay, Bird Mom.
Number 3.
Okay, boy, everybody's sitting with that. How about you, Martha?
Number 2.
Okay, so now
What about you, Connie? Or do you know?
I know.
Oh, then you can't say.
Yeah, so I can't say. That's right. So here we go.
Actually, they're all true. Yeah, they're all true. At this point, most people really only care about the television show. I know this from experience. Okay, so the show was NBC's Saved by the Bell, the new class, and I played Weasel Wiesel, who was the sort of dorky, nerdy character on the show, which made it a very major acting challenge for me as a 13-year-old boy. Now, did you struggle with number 4, my blindness? Why is that? We make assumptions about so-called disabilities. As a blind man, I confront others' incorrect assumptions about my abilities every day. My point today is not about my blindness, however. It's about my vision. Going blind taught me to live my life eyes wide open. It taught me to spot those backward swimming fish that our minds create. Going blind casts them into focus. What does it feel like to see? It's immediate and passive. You open your eyes and there's the world. Seeing is believing, sight is truth, right? Well, that's what I thought. Then, from age 12 to 25, my retinas progressively deteriorated. My sight became an increasingly bizarre carnival funhouse hall of mirrors and illusions. The salesperson I was relieved to spot in a store was really a mannequin. Reaching down to wash my hands, I suddenly saw it was a urinal I was touching, not a sink, when my fingers felt its true shape. A friend described the photograph in my hand, and only then I could see the image depicted. Objects appeared, morphed, and disappeared in my reality. It was difficult and exhausting to see. I pieced together fragmented, transitory images, consciously analyzed the clues, searched for some logic in my crumbling kaleidoscope, until I saw nothing at all. I learned that what we see is not universal truth. It is not objective reality. What we see is a unique, personal, virtual reality that is masterfully constructed by our brain. Let me explain with a bit of amateur neuroscience. Your visual cortex takes up about 30% of your brain. That's compared to approximately 8% for touch and 2 to 3% for hearing. Every second, your eyes can send your visual cortex as many as 2 billion pieces of information. The rest of your body can send your brain only an additional billion. So sight is 1/3 of your brain by volume and can claim about 2/3 of your brain's processing resources. It's no surprise then that the illusion of sight is so compelling. But make no mistake about it, sight is an illusion. Here's where it gets interesting. To create the experience of sight, your brain references your conceptual understanding of the world, other knowledge, your memories, opinions, emotions, mental attention, all of these things, and far more, are linked in your brain to your sight. These linkages work both ways and usually occur subconsciously. So, for example, what you see impacts how you feel, and the way you feel can literally change what you see. Numerous studies demonstrate this. If you are asked to estimate the walking speed of a man in a video, for example, your answer will be different if you're told to think about cheetahs or turtles. A hill appears steeper if you've just exercised, and a landmark appears farther away if you're wearing a heavy backpack. We have arrived at a fundamental contradiction. What you see is a complex mental construction of your own making, but you experience it passively as a direct representation of the world around you. You create your own reality and you believe it. I believed mine until it broke apart. The deterioration of my eyes shattered the illusion. You see, sight is just one way we shape our reality. We create our own realities in many other ways. Let's take fear as just one example. Your fears distort your reality. Under the warped logic of fear, anything is better than the uncertain. Fear fills the void at all costs, passing off what you dread for what you know, offering up the worst in place of the ambiguous, substituting assumption for reason. Psychologists have a great term for it, awfulizing. Right? Fear replaces the unknown with the awful. Now, fear is self-realizing. When you face the greatest need to look outside yourself and think critically, fear beats a retreat deep inside your mind, shrinking and distorting your view, drowning your capacity for critical thought with a flood of disruptive emotions. When you face a compelling opportunity to take action, fear lulls you into inaction, enticing you to passively watch its prophecies fulfill themselves. When I was diagnosed with my blinding disease, I knew blindness would ruin my life. Blindness was a death sentence for my independence. It was the end of achievement for me. Blindness meant I would live an unremarkable life, small and sad, and likely alone. I knew it. This was a fiction born of my fears, but I believed it. It was a lie, but it was my reality, just like those backward swimming fish in little Dorothy's mind. If I had not confronted the reality of my fear, I would have lived it. I am certain of that. So, how do you live your life eyes wide open? It is a learned discipline. It can be taught. It can be practiced. I'll summarize very briefly. Hold yourself accountable for every moment, every thought, every detail. See beyond your fears, recognize your assumptions, harness your internal strength, silence your internal critic, correct your misconceptions about luck and about success, accept your strengths and your weaknesses and understand the difference. Open your hearts to your bountiful blessings. Your fears, your critics, your heroes, your villains, they are your excuses, rationalizations, shortcuts, justifications, your surrender. They are fictions you perceive as reality. Choose to see through them. Choose to let them go. You are the creator of your reality. With that empowerment comes complete responsibility. I chose to step out of fear's tunnel into terrain uncharted and undefined. I chose to build there a blessed life. Far from alone, I share my beautiful life with Dorothy, my beautiful wife, with our triplets, whom we call the Tripskis, and with the latest addition to the family, sweet baby Clementine. What do you fear? What lies do you tell yourself? How do you embellish your truth and write your own fictions? What reality are you creating for yourself? In your career and personal life, in your relationships, and in your heart and soul, your backward swimming fish do you great harm. They exact a toll in missed opportunities and unrealized potential, and they engender insecurity and distrust where you seek fulfillment and connection. I urge you to search them out. Helen Keller said that the only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. For me, going blind was a profound blessing because blindness gave me vision. I hope you can see what I see. Thank you.
Isaac, before you leave the stage, just a question. This is an audience of entrepreneurs, of doers, of innovators. You are a CEO of a company down in Florida, and many are probably wondering, how is it to be a blind CEO? What kind of specific challenges do you have, and how do you overcome them?
Well, the biggest challenge became a blessing. I don't get visual feedback from people.
Was a noise there?
Yeah. So, for example, in my leadership team meetings, I don't see facial expressions or gestures. I've learned to solicit a lot more verbal feedback. I basically, force people to tell me what they think. And in this respect, it's become, like I said, a real blessing for me personally and for my company, because we communicate at a far deeper level. We avoid ambiguities. And most important, my team knows that what they think truly matters.
Isaac, thank you for coming to TED.
Thank you, Bruno.
Thank you.
That was. We can't hear you.
I got you.
There we are.
I'm staring back. Did y'all enjoy that?
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah. So, and you see how it factors into what we are all doing ourselves. I mean, just look what he did, even with what he went through and his disabilities. I mean, he talks about your successes and your good luck and how we've attached so much to that. I thought that was funny that he knew all of us picked the sitcom, didn't he?
Yeah.
So creating your reality is a learned discipline. It can be taught and it can be practiced. And I thought this plays into so much of what we do here as a group and amongst ourselves, and with others. So holding yourself accountable for every moment, every thought, and every detail. That's something that we have learned and studied, I think, since we started trying to improve ourselves, our personal improvement, and seeing beyond our fear. I don't know that we really discuss that much. I never really know what they mean when they talk about fear, how fear holds people back. But I did get it when he was talking, how fear holds people back, because you start believing things. And once you believe something, then you no longer try. You accept it as your reality, as he said. And then recognizing your assumptions. Anybody guilty of making wrong assumptions?
No.
Yeah.
That's easy to do. It's really easy to.
Has a wrong assumption ever made you react in the wrong way
Yep.
that you've regretted?
Definitely.
And how about the internal critic? Did he hit home there?
Oh, yeah.
So we all deal with that internal critic. I'm trying to mute Dorothy there. I'd like to get her involved in this conversation. Correct your misconceptions of luck and about success. Have you ever thought somebody was lucky because they accomplished something or received some kind of recognition? And have you ever looked at someone else's success and said, oh, that could never be me?
I saw something on Facebook. It says people always always want to be successful until they realize what it takes to be successful. And it had a picture, and it was a frontal view of a ballerina's feet. One of them was in a shoe, and one of them was not. And the one that was not in the shoe was all bandaged, and the toes were all gnarled and bloody and bruised.
Yeah.
And,
The work, like they say, the results reflect your the amount of work you put into something. And then accepting your strengths and weaknesses and understand the difference. I think we're really quick to recognize our weaknesses, but I don't know that we actually give ourselves credit for our strengths, or many times not even know what our strengths are. And then opening your heart to your bountiful blessings, just being grateful every day for what it is you do have instead of focusing so much on what you don't have. Your fears, your critics, your heroes, your villains, they are all your excuses. Does anyone have a thought of what he meant by that?
my brain's just going all over the place with this in comparison to the power sessions and our habit finder. So right now we're learning so much more about this.
I thought about that whenever we're doing, and then the rationalizations, the shortcuts, the justifications, the things that cause you to surrender. Yeah, they are the fictions that you see as a reality. I think last week, Bird Mom, you talked about, it just occurred to me when you talked about your fear of repeating past behaviors. Remember that?
Yes.
That was
Yes.
interesting. So you have to let those fears go and create the reality you want. Now, we even said that last week, didn't we? Think about what you want, not what you don't want. And then you are the creator of your reality. All that we are is a result of what we have thought. And that plays into a lot of what Lisa is talking about. And at our last summit, the most important relationship you will ever have is with your thoughts. When Jim Dethner, the writer of the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, he was the one who asked us, what is the most important relationship we'll ever have? And he had us think of that overnight, and then the next day, he asked around the room, meeting people said their significant other, how many people said their deity, and how many people said themselves. And those were typically the answers that filled the room. And he said we were all wrong, that the most important relationship we'll ever have is with our thoughts. And I thought this piece actually put that into words. Nothing in this world can torment us as much as our own thoughts. What we tell ourselves we can do and we cannot do becomes the reality that we create. And then, of course, when Lisa mentioned all the different things we do as coaches, the learnings, we do learnings every Thursday and every Friday morning of every week. So we never stop learning. And one of the things that has impacted me, and I think Dorothy and Lisa as well, is when we started talking about the above the line and below the line thinking. And that I have shared this with Marcia. I think Marcia has even gotten a little bit of it because Marcia Pickering has started joining us in our classes where we, I see that, Lisa, where we are covering that book. But many of us, we see ourselves below the line. And we're hardwired to be below the line. And Marcia Pickering, I will let you, because you just said that recently when you were having your meltdown, the worst, when you reached what you considered to be your bottom, that when you saw the above the line and below the line thinking, will you share the epiphany that you had and how quickly you were able to use this in your own life?
I think it was a lot of things went into me starting to go above the line more than below. But when I saw that chart and I'm looking at it and I did my assessment or my thing with Catherine, and we went back over it and I told her, I said, I looked at that chart and it was like almost everything below the line was where I was at. I mean, I'm talking about, I don't think it was maybe one thing I had above the line and stuff. And I knew that I had to do something different. And I think the biggest thing is the fear. You know, it's and I'm sure Dorothy understands it too, the fear of the unknown, of being alone and handling things. But I made up my mind. I was going to get out 3 times a week, and I have done it now for the past 2 weeks. I even did something yesterday just because I had nothing on my schedule all week. And I just made it, I just tell myself every morning I've got to stay above the line as much as I can. I mean, I'm going to go, well, the other day, like Connie, I talked to you about the deal with the house. And I was starting to go below the line again and everything. And I just, this morning, I just called him and said that, you know, I'd like to know when she will meet me in May. And I'm working and I'm thinking more and I think my biggest thing was fear. If I do something and mess it up, I can handle it. If life throws me a curve, I have a hard time. And that's when my fear and everything comes in. But I'm really doing a lot better. I'm really, actually, I cannot believe how much better I am doing.
And you feel like the above the line thinking and the below the line thinking, when it was clear for you to see that it actually was a critical part of you being able to make that shift.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think, and I love this chart. I think when I go back into coaching, I think it is something that I would make sure every one of my clients have.
So Martha Toff, I talked about below the line thinking and above the line thinking with you, and I shared this with you, but you and I have never talked since then.
Right.
Has this been anything that has impacted you?
Yes, it has. I haven't had time to talk to you about it, but I sat and I wrote the different words down and I put words before it or after it to make it make sense. And in doing so, it was crushing the below the lines and puffing up the above the line. And if I start to feel like something's taking me down or failure or something, I just think those words above the line. Oh yeah, okay. And then I start thinking positively. And it's made a huge difference.
And that is the same for me as well. I was below the line. Well, like the author says, we are all hardwired to go below the line. It has to be a conscious effort on our part to move
Right.
ourselves above the line, and that's where happiness exists.
Right.
Below
Right.
the line, you're robbing yourself of your joy and happiness.
Mhm.
Dorothy, you have anything you want to add on this?
No, I think it's great to pay attention to when you are below the line, because that realizing that you're below the line is the beginning of getting above the line.
Right. Right.
And Lisa, did you have any comment you wanted to make?
Just what's repeatedly taught to us is, and that you've already mentioned, we're hardwired to be below the line. It's survival mode. That's how you survive, was in the failure and fear. Fear motivated you to be able to take care of yourself and to basically survive. But knowing that we are going to be we're going to go above and below. But the key thing that Dorothy mentioned is learning to recognize your location. It's like real estate. It's all about location. You know, sometimes
Very good.
Sometimes you might be in a bad neighborhood, and sometimes you might be in a risky neighborhood. But you know, it's you have.
And this is all about. And this is a depiction of our relationship with our thoughts. That's exactly how we learn to have a good relationship with our thoughts. Marcia Novita,
Yes.
you going to say hello?
Hola, hello.
Hola.
Your hands.
I'll be with you in a minute. Just give me like
Oh,
5
okay.
minutes and we'll be done. So, Bird Mom, this is the first time you're seeing this.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get your thoughts on it. You're the only virgin in the room.
Wow. You know,
Oh, look here.
looking at that chart, like below the line is like my world. This is my world.
Would you like to have a chart so you can look at it every day like we do?
No. Oh no.
Don't give it to you, right? Okay. And now we'll button this up. And it says, what if you love the life you have while you create the life of your dreams? Yes, you. So your takeaway today is, and I thought I'd have each of you think about one of your many strengths, because I think we all have strengths. And my takeaway today was about what the point he made about sight, about he doesn't have the feedback from sight. So many times, a lot of what we interpret to be the case are assumptions we draw from what we see. And I hadn't thought of that until he said he doesn't have any visual feedback. So it makes him rely more on what people say and what he hears than what he sees. So it didn't really sound like a bad thing to me. That really stuck out with me. And I think one of my strengths is what would I say? I should ask Tony. I would say one of my strengths is the way I can relate to other people. That I have a natural caring for others.
Yes, you
And
do.
I call that probably my greatest strength. Yeah. And I'm going to pass to Dorothy.
Well, my takeaway today is on the above the line and below the line is my biggest thing is uncertainty. I don't like uncertainty at all. I like certainty.
Yes.
And that's one thing for me that I have to, get out there. Like, for example, my fear of driving. I have driven in all of this bad weather because I've had to go every day and put a pain patch on my mom. and take her to the hospital and go to the hospital and all those things. I don't like that. If it wasn't for my mom, I wouldn't even go outside. No, because I don't like it. I to be certain I can get where I'm going and safely. So, but one of my strengths, I think, I think I can be a good friend. I think I can be a good friend to people. Yeah.
That's a beautiful strength too.
And I'm going to go to Marcia Navita.
Okay. I think my biggest takeaway today is how your perceptions really do create your reality. That is so true. So true. And I've been guilty of so many of those things that they pointed out, you know, that you have preconceived notions. And so it is very, very true. I think one of my many strengths is that I think I'm really compassionate. I try to understand people without judging. And like Dorothy says, I am a good friend. I would like to find a friend like me.
Yeah, I agree
Okay.
too, Marcia.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to pass it to Martha Pickering.
Okay. My takeaway today is it just felt a lot like Dorothy. I'm afraid with the uncertain. My fear has really, especially since losing Dick, of how am I going to do this? I don't think I can do it. And I was really negative about almost everything and the fact that I can't do it. And I was calling my poor daughter every day saying, you know, I can't do this. Will you do it and stuff? And then when I saw that chart and saw how below the line I was, I said, I have got it. So I made myself a list. I fixed my tax thing. I drove over to Bartow, which I've never been, and I'm not a big on driving either, Dorothy, but I've been doing really well with it. My good old GPS. and I have done so many things that I have more or less had pushed off on poor Missy since Dick died. And I just said that, you know, she's got to have her life with her children and her husband. And so I think the biggest takeaway is that, like he said, you have all these conceived ideals. And when he lost his blindness, it was like, it was a whole different world, but he said it was probably one of the best things and stuff. And I think one of my many strengths is when I get my thoughts in order, I do think I'm a strong person most of the time, until life throws me a curve. But I'm working on doing better on that, and I really am. I have improved 100% in the last 2 weeks.
And I do agree, you're a strong person. Look what you did for Dick and for so long. A weak person could not have done that. You are a strong person. But everybody has a limit. You are a strong person, Marcia. Who you passing to?
Let's see who's left.
Martha and Lisa and Tony.
I'll pass to Martha.
Okay. My takeaway today has to do with the line, because I think if I'm slipping below the line, I don't have to pick a hard one above the line. I can look up and find something that's easy to make myself pull myself up, whether it's just, okay, smile. I can do something physical, you know.
Right.
And I like the way you can really dig into your thoughts on it. But in a way, sometimes it's just nice to know that, well, if I look above the line, I'll go do this. I'll go sew something and make something for the first time in 5 years. And so that's my takeaway. My many strengths, I think, I guess one of my strengths is that I look out for other people's well-being and try to help them find ways to become stronger and get the care that they need to give themselves or go find somewhere else.
Yeah. I love how we all have to think about it, but I find everybody's answer, because I know each of you and on a deep level, and I agree totally. That is a strength of yours. Who you passing to?
Tony.
Tony. You gotta unmute.
But I guess my takeaway when I was listening to him was the fact that this site does mess you up. When we look at him sometimes, that's not the way it really is. You know, it kind of, we accept things we look at, and it really isn't that at all. But rather what other people may say is really what it is. What you see is kind of weird, you know. So yeah, that was my takeaway in that. My strength, I think my strength is trying to make people smile.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
You succeed a lot.
Just you know, life is wonderful. You know, don't
One of
take
your
it for
strengths
granted.
is always making other people feel better. Absolutely.
That's it. That's why I like to see people feel better. I think that's my strength. I probably would have been a good doctor, except that I'm afraid of, you know, touching up and seeing blood coming out. You know, so yeah.
You've been a doctor this week.
Yes, yes.
I didn't wear my outfit for you guys, but you know,
Yes, scrubs now.
I've been doing nursing work anyway.
I think that's cool.
So you passing to Lisa, Tony?
Huh?
You passing to Lisa?
I passed to Lisa.
You wrap it up, Lisa.
I have to say the site, this was a good reminder of how I think how our lives and our experiences and that we've been treated and the way people have been reacted to us, that all filters our vision. And I keep going back to Facebook, but I saw this one thing where there was a picture from two sides of a man holding his hand up, and from one side it looked like he was flipping a bird. It was like this.
Yeah.
It was like this. And it looked like he was flipping a bird, but the other side it looked like this. So, and and that's something we're learning about in our training that we do, is about assumptions. It's very easy to make assumptions in so many different situations, and you know, the sight thing kind of just was a good reminder. Oh, I hate this one of my strengths. One is well, I was just told today that I'm very energetic and enthusiastic, which I took as a compliment until she followed that up with, it makes it seem like I want to be in charge sometimes. So, but I would say that's one of my strengths, is just bringing enthusiasm and the glad game to wherever I am, because no matter what's going on, I always find something good out of it. I try to find the good in it. As Martha said, find lemons, make lemonade, instead of find lemons, freeze them, and throw them at somebody.
So if I had picked your strength for you, Lisa, I would have picked the part where you're able to put aside what's best for you and think about what other people need, and you put yourself out there many times.
Thank you. That's very sweet. I'll take that.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'm going to stop my share, and I hope you guys got something from this tonight, and I hope you enjoyed it. And so try to stimulate the whole brain there and make life better. Yay! Martha, you weren't here for this, but this is the way deaf people clap.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So now we're all doing this when we get
okay.
That's it. And then we don't have to interrupt each other. So we learned that at my last summit.
I don't know if I had seen everybody since I went to the doctor, and my A1C went from 12.1 down to 8.4.
Nice.
I'm very proud of you and everything, but I'd like to see it down to 7 when you come back in 6 weeks.
That's
And
great.
my liver has improved.
Mhm.
So I think and I really think it's just been the last 2 or 3 weeks when I've started not setting and closing myself away in the house and locking up and not talking to people or anything. And I think it really has. It makes a difference when we think
Support.
positive
Yes.
Support. People using the support.
and using the support.
Yeah.
Can I share some exciting news I got today?
Yes.
Y'all have been with me in my journey. And in the beginning, you remember I was very disconnected from my children, and a lot of that is healed. And my youngest daughter called me during her lunch hour. I was just finishing up line dancing, and that's like unheard of because I have to normally call her. She stays so busy. She's a teacher, and she shared with me, I tried to call you earlier and tell you this, Mommy, but she has been selected as Teacher of the Year.
Again?
Well, the last one she got was Teacher of the Quarter in the greater Houston area. So she was on the teachers, but she is Teacher of the Year at her school, and her name is in the hat for her district. And but that's exciting news. But the part that I wanted to share with you is that reconnection with my family, because I've gotten healthy, and it just really supremely thrilled me that my daughter called during the workday in her lunch hour to share happy news.
Tell you, yeah, to share with you,
So
to be with you,
yes.
with you.
So
Yeah.
I'm sharing with y'all.
That's
Truly is the little things in life, isn't it? Truly is the little things in life. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, man.
Bye,
Good
Lisa.
night, everyone.
Good
night.
night.